Blog Talk Radio.
Atapuruषो हवाय नारायणो कामयत प्रजाः सृजयेति नारायणाप्राणो जायते मानः सर्वेन्द्रियाणि च ब्रह्मयो ज्योतिरापः पृथिवी विश्वस्याधारिणी नारायण ब्रह्मा जायते नारायण रुद्रो जायते नारायण इन्द्रो जायते नारायण प्रजापतयः प्रजायन्ते नारायण द्वादशादित्या रुद्रावतवः सर्वाणि च छन्दगंसि नारायण देव समुपद्यन्ते नारायणे प्रवर्धन्ते नारायणे प्रलीयन्ते
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this show of your Kundalini awakening experiences. This channel, this Kundalini channel, this Kundalini station, this everything that is about Kundalini. I'd like to welcome you to the program today, and I'm going to jump right into it. Passion can be extremely amplified within the Kundalini. The passion for having joy, the passion for giving service, the passion for noticing all life around you and the supreme importance of all life around you. As you walk barefoot on that lawn, you realize that you're walking on a miniature Amazon jungle. You're walking on an ecosystem. And you're walking on the living creatures within that ecosystem. It's very important for people to understand that we are surrounded by the passion of life and the passion of life to continue and to succeed and to procreate and to evolve and to spiritually evolve too. It's not just humans that are spiritually evolving. It's just humans that are spiritually evolving in a human way, but there are other ways of evolution, and I just want to say that we are surrounded by the passion of evolution. I would like to do a sound check real quick here, though, and it looks like Mary Jean is asking, hello, is anybody there? Can anybody hear me? Let me type that into the chat room here. So, unfortunately, on Blog Talk Radio, they don't really have an opportunity to give you a sound check before you're actually live on the radio. And so if C.O. Morgan or Mary Jean or Guest 1075 or Guest 1060 would write and let us know that the sound is, the sound is not working. Let's see here. How do I do this? Let's see here. Well, I'll just log out and log back in, I guess. Let's try it. Okay, let me go to the chat room. Launch the chat room. Okay, I have relaunched everything. Can anybody hear me here? Somebody type, please. Hello, testing 1 2 1 2 3. Oh, great. Blog Talk, I swear. Guess I'll try relogging in for sound. Wow.
Chrism?
Yeah.
Who has responded in the chat room? Is it just one person?
No, it's more than one.
Okay.
I guess it's being heard over the telephone, though. I'm not sure. But, yeah.
Yes, it's heard on the telephone. It is indeed.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
So nobody heard. I was just talking to the air like I usually do. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Can hear on computer. Well, okay.
Okay, Rosemary is on there. Let's bring her on.
Rosemary is on where?
Hi, is that you, Rosemary? Is that you,
Yeah.
Rosemary?
Yeah, it is, and I can hear all of it.
And yes, you're on the telephone. Can you hear him on PC? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think just continue, Chrism.
Yeah, the people in the chat room won't know what we're talking about, so I'll go ahead and just try to start again. So, hello everyone. This is Chrism. I'd like to welcome you to this program. This program is all about your Kundalini awakening. And today, an aspect of the Kundalini I'd like to talk about is called its passion. The passion of Kundalini. You know, the passion of living an exalted life. This is not the same way for everyone. For some people like me, myself, when I was a child, I knew that there was something really, really, really important that I had to do with my life. I knew that I had to open this. I had no idea what it was. Okay. But I knew that there was something very, very important. And once I found it, that I wouldn't be able to set it down. I wouldn't be able to ignore it. And this I'm referring to as the passion towards the Kundalini. Whether you know the word Kundalini or not, it doesn't really matter because it goes, you know, with all these different names. But Kundalini gives us a certain level of a passion for life, a passion for expanding our understandings of life, a passion for understandings the intricacies of life and how it's interbraided with every other form of life on this world. And as I was talking to the air a little while ago, I told the air about what it was like to walk on the lawn and how you might be walking literally within an Amazonian jungle in miniature when you walk on your lawn, because you're walking on all that life that exists under there, all the bugs, the insects, the invertebrates, the funguses, the bacteria. I mean, you're walking on a literal jungle of life as you walk on that lawn. And of course, I suggest you walk barefoot on the lawn. All of this life has the passion to live, the passion to express life as it is engineered by divinity to express itself. Very, very important that you remember how important your passion is, your passion to experience the Kundalini. For those of you that are not activated yet, but are seeking activation, that may be the part of the passion is compelling you to seek the activation or the awakening of the Kundalini. It's very important for people to recognize that passion within themselves and to live that passion. And it doesn't matter. I mean, you may be inside of an ashram right now somewhere in India, China, Himalayas, Mount Shasta. I'm sure they've got some things up there somewhere. In the wilds, and you may have this computer hookup and you can see this program. I want you to really, really, really embrace the passion of your Kundalini. And this passion will drive you to do certain things. It will drive you to clean up your life, number one. Kundalini wants you to reorganize your life along the lines of its merits for you, not necessarily society's merits. It wants you to listen to the divine within you and to learn the structure that the divine is offering you. And part of that structure is to follow that pathway of the divine that the divine has laid down for you. Uh-oh. I just got a connecting to server sign. Am I still being heard, or am I talking to the air again? I'm going to rely on the people in the chat room. Can you hear me at all? Oh. Hello, everyone. It's going to be one of those shows. One of the talking to the air shows. Oh, there we are. Okay. Oh, my Lord. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, well, I just got this reconnecting to the server sign, and everything kind of went opaque. So I'm just glad that we're still being heard here. So thank you, Bartolomew and Mary Jean and Mr. Morgan. Mary Jean, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so as you embrace this passion that the idea of Kundalini is drawing you towards itself, the idea of Kundalini is beginning to resonate from an outside in and an inside out affirmation of a course that is being offered to you. And yet, with this type of an offering, this course offering, you don't get much of a choice. Once you start to feel the pull of the Kundalini calling to you, it doesn't stop. And you're not really allowed to ignore it. You have to really begin to embrace it. And it will compel you to embrace it. And it won't give up. It's 24/7. It's relentless. Once the Kundalini has exposed itself to you in whatever small way, whether it's a compelling, whether it's a book fell off the shelf and oh my gosh, it's Activate Your Kundalini by Chrism. If that ever comes to fruition, you are not being just offered something that you can refuse. And many people try. Many people try to refuse it. And for those that are truly being offered this gift, there is no choice. Once the Sanskrit word Kundalini has come into your mind, that Sanskrit word itself takes root within your mind. And because there is Kundalini within the Sanskrit language, the Kundalini at the base of your spine will also resonate. I'm going to get rid of some of these sounds here. It will resonate with that calling. And once that has occurred, it will constantly come into your mindset. It will constantly form a pact, whether it's acted on immediately by you or not. That pact will begin to expand itself within your body, within your mind, within the 5 bodies of human expression: the mental body, the emotional body, the psychological body, the physical body, and the spiritual body. And so it's very important for people to understand that once you feel that calling, once you feel the passion within that calling, the best thing for you to do is to respond in a positive, embracing way. Now, of course, you'll be given all kinds of different challenges to deal with, challenges from your past, challenges from your present. How do you handle certain emotional scenarios? How do you handle certain spiritual scenarios? Will be given to you, and you're going to have to figure out how to handle these in a very specific way. One of the specific ways I'm going to offer to you is through the practice of the safeties. And because of the practice of the safeties, it is written by the Kundalini for people having Kundalini or wanting Kundalini, then I feel that it is pretty safe. It is pretty safe. And Elizabeth is telling me that, hello, Ben, they're here all along. Can hear you on the phone and the computer. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. It's been a difficult Blog Talk day already, and we're only, not even 15 minutes into the program. Having a hard time advertising it, too. All right. So I am going to go ahead and bring Elizabeth online. But before I bring Elizabeth, one of our weekly guests, online, I want to tell a little bit of her story. Elizabeth has been studying spiritual matters, most of her life. She was a lead singer in the rock and roll scene in the Los Angeles area a few years back. And but during that experience for her in LA, she also was studying the Tree of Life, and she was able to ascend the ladder of the Tree of Life, or the Jewish pathway towards enlightenment that they offer there in Los Angeles. And she was able to go to the top of that large group in Los Angeles, way ahead of people that have been practicing for years. This is kind of like what I'm talking about with regards to the passion of the Kundalini. The Kundalini doesn't really care, unless there's a karmic anecdote to that. It doesn't really care if you reach into divinity through religion, or through yoga, or through near death, or whatever the modality may be for you. She's supportive. Basically, Kundalini just wants you to get to Kundalini, period, and it will take over after that. And so Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez was able to really climb the ladder of success for the Tree of Life system that was being offered there in Los Angeles. And at the moment, I'm kind of at a loss for the other name that goes by. I'm having a brain freeze here. But Elizabeth was able to do that. And from there, she became Kundalini Awakened. And from there, she left that group and moved to another area. And Kabbalah. Thank you, Phil Karuba. Yeah, it's the Kabbalistic practices that Elizabeth just swooped through, probably completed all of the exercises and all of the qualifications faster than anybody else. And from there, she used that to leapfrog straight into the Kundalini. And from having the Kundalini for a number of years with, we're talking spinal sweeps and all of that, well, she comes down, or she gets ready to come down to the Peruvian ayahuasca ceremonies. But before she goes, she makes contact with the sacred spider, which is one of the symbols of the Shakti feminine, the feminine Shakti Kundalini. And so now I'm going to bring her on, and I believe I'm going to bring her on here, unless something goes terribly wrong. She should be on right now. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, Chrism. Hello, everybody.
And was I somewhat correct with your spiritual biography?
Yeah, and the thing is that no one in that system knew that what they teach leads to an awakening, because when it happens and you try to explain it to the teachers, they just look at you like they don't know what you're talking about, but yet they teach and they initiate into the Holy of Holies and the whole thing. But the problem is when you ascend quickly, when you reach a certain level, they don't know what to do with you. And so when I moved up here, it happened again, because I still was just, like you said, I have a passion. I've had a passion my whole life for divinity. And so I started doing Kundalini yoga, and again, my Kundalini was just going off the charts. And the teacher just looked at me like, I don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what to do with you, although both of those systems potentially lead to having your Kundalini awakened. They don't know what to do if that happens.
Well, this kind of really goes with any of the spiritual practices. whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's Qigong, whether it's yoga, any of the yogas, any of these types of spiritual formats have the potential for awakening the Kundalini. But that passion,
Yes.
when you mix those systems with the passion of the Kundalini, the passion that the Kundalini has to want to awaken within you, well, that changes the game tremendously. And you're right. They have no idea. They have no idea what to do with you. And lots of them will just kick you out of the group because you're being disruptive by having those kriyas or whatever it is, whatever Kundalini thing, they kick you out.
Mhm. And when you had the seminar, when we had the seminar here, that you did here, I met 2 other Kundalini women in this town who had the same exact experience that I had with the same Kundalini yoga, because it's a small town. Our paths didn't cross because there's many classes, but they had the same exact experience with the exact same teacher, and we all kind of got thrown out, if you will. And they were so thankful and they both, came to me at the seminar and said, "It's real. Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm not insane. It's real. It's real." They were so excited because finally, they had been led to where they could get some information. So
I think one of those women's name was Trinity, right?
Yep.
And folks, when Trinity came to the seminar, after we did the seminar, we'd have little meetings up into the rooms of the castle there. This was Kundalini at the castle in Port Townsend, Washington State. And Trinity went up to one of the rooms where we were having a big meeting of about, I think, 7 or 8 people. I think Amelia was there and Rosemary was there, and she started opening to the sacred feminine within her right then and there. And wow, it was very impressive. When we went down to Peru and started doing the ayahuasca ceremonies, one of the first ceremonies, there were people that were kind of turning into the jaguar, turning into the serpent, turning into these animals and making the sounds that are associated with those animals. And the leader, the shaman, came up to me and I asked him, I said, "Are these sounds bothering people?" And he said, "Oh yeah." And so I went around and I told people to quiet it down a little bit. And afterwards he came up to me and I said, "You understand, Kundalini people kind of have to surrender to the Kundalini, and they don't really get to choose if they're going to embody an animal or not." And he says, "But where are the angels?" Where are the angels? And I'm going to suggest to all of you today that just because a jaguar may sound like wow, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not an angelic sound. Don't ask me to sing any more today, by the way. It just ruined that. So when Trinity, I was laughing. I think that, who's that? When Trinity went up there and she started embodying Shakti, she started embodying the tiger and the jaguar. Oh, Elizabeth, I'm going to put you in the blue here until you can.
Sorry.
That's all right. And she did some extremely strong, powerful Shakti blessings into that group. I mean, it was very strong, very powerful. She was prancing around on the floor like a tiger. She was making the most amazing sounds. You didn't think the human voice could make those kinds of sounds. And, she was pouncing kind of like on the floor, slamming the floor with her hands, and really, really a beautiful, beautiful rendition of Shakti Kundalini in the human body. And I'm going to come back to Elizabeth here. And continue with your story with regards to those women who discovered the Kundalini there.
Well, just that, it's such a relief to finally find out that it's real, that it's not your imagination, that what you've been trying to find and what you've been searching for all your life, suddenly someone will listen to you and validate you and give you information to help you. And like you said with Trinity, it was so beautiful, and we all got to watch it. And
let me tell you, when you watch that stuff in person, it's very, very, very profound.
Yeah, so powerful. And after the seminar, you had, I got to go and sit with her for a week. Each night in her husband's studio, I would get to go and just, because you wanted her to go ahead and just, because she had kept herself for a year from doing the physical Kriya. She was afraid to do them, and you had told her, go ahead and let that happen. Just let them come, and Elizabeth will sit, we'll sit and just make sure you're safe. And, and so we videotaped, and she would, we would do the Tibetans together and do a meditation, and she would just immediately go into her Kriyas, and it was just beautiful. And one of the videos that she gave to you, Chrism, somewhere towards, I was chanting, and I was chanting with you, with a CD of you, and then she went into her Kriyas, and somewhere towards the end of the video, the room got so bright with white light. You can visibly see it on the video, where it's just, the entire room was just lit up. It was really beautiful.
I'll have to dig up that video, see if I can find it. I'm sure I can research that and get that up there on the at least certainly on the Facebook groups, and perhaps on the Yahoo group as well. So yeah, thank you, Elizabeth, for retelling that. And I tip my hat to Laranya, if she's there.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to say anything if she doesn't want, but if she does,
okay.
This time is for her.
No, she did. She liked what you were talking about earlier, though.
The passion. Well, I'm just going to continue with that.
Yeah. Okay.
The passion of the Kundalini is not just like, oh gosh, I've got a passion for cooking, or some of us in the chat room might recognize, oh, I've got a passion for four-wheel driving. I've got my four-wheel drive vehicle, and I just love to go out there and climb hills. And with the passion with the Kundalini, it begins to drive you rather than you driving it. So in a way, it would be the four-wheel drive vehicle driving the driver, rather than the driver driving the four-wheel drive vehicle. And that is the Kundalini passion. That is how she really is able to push a person towards finding the teacher, finding the practice, finding the format for them to really, really, really begin to embrace their inner divine. And speaking of the Kundalini at the Castle that Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, she organized that from the ground up, by the way, everybody. Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, single-handedly, she arranged for the castle. She arranged for for a lot of the living situations. She arranged everything from the ground up. She arranged the different talks around the North Washington State areas. I mean, she really made that seminar work, and I just want to put a shout out of thanks to Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez for doing that, as well as to Rosemary Goliath and Amelia Santara, who is often put on seminars in the country of Ireland. And so a shout out to all of you for that. And the interesting thing about that, how there is a bridge to what I'm talking about with regard. So let's just use Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez's Kundalini at the Castle. Well, her Kundalini would have known about Trinity, would have known about some of the other people that were actually in the process of having Kundalini. And there were like 2 or 3 people there that came to the seminar that were fully engulfed in Kriyas. And they were actually doing that work already. And her Kundalini would have known that and would have compelled her to put on that seminar so that those people could be free from fear, free from lack of validation, free from running from that divine expression within themselves and into an embracement of that, or an embracing of the phenomena within them and that divine consciousness within them. It's very, very, very important that the Kundalini will do that to you. She will harness your passion to such a degree that you may want to put on a seminar in your community. And I'm going to offer it up to you right now. I mean, I have a seminar coming up in Minnesota and in Berlin, Germany. And I want to offer up to anybody here who feels the passion from their Kundalini strong enough to put on a seminar. I will do the traveling. I mean, the seminar will have to pay for my airline costs because I don't have that kind of money. But, typically 10 people is the minimum, and typically that can cover some of the costs for putting on the seminar itself. And speaking of that, I'm going to bring Rosemary online. And hello, Rosemary.
Hi there, Chrism. Thank you for all your good words about seminars. It's really a blessing.
Well, it is a blessing that really you're more in charge of than me. I mean, I can stand up there and put on the seminar, but it takes very, very special individuals to be able to organize one. And I want to do a shout out to you, and of course to Amelia and to Elizabeth, and anybody else here who has put on a seminar. You know how much work that is. I know how much work that is. Oh my gosh. So anyway, go ahead and make your announcements if you would, my dear.
Yes, thank you, Chrism. So our seminar coming up is July 9th and 10th, and it is very unusual in a wonderful way. It will be on a prairie, a restored prairie, 100 acres. Some of it was natural prairie, but all of it's now prairie, and near Cannon Falls. And there are plugins there, so if people like camping, a possibility.
Yeah.
So, thank you. And this will be, it's in the middle of July, and we chose that time because of the prairie and the beauty. And my information...
9th and 10th of July?
Middle of July, July 9 and 10.
Yeah.
And my information is rosemaryg@usinternet.com, and my phone number is 651-329-9615. And when you're saying about the work, it is Chrism, and it's something that one is inspired to do. And also, likewise, the people who are helping.
Well, you have the passion, right? And I feel that Joey also has the passion.
And Katie does too here.
And Katie, and I know, I mean, and the passion is really, really strong. It will literally take hold of you and begin to change your life. Have you found that to be true?
Yes.
And as far as I'd like to touch base a little bit more on the whole restored prairie. I know that doesn't sound too exciting. It's not like, oh, this is the restored Yosemite National Park in the Sierras of the western Sierra Nevada. It's not that way at all. But I'll tell you what, the prairie used to really extend from, I guess, just a little bit west of Tennessee, all the way through to Colorado. We're talking, literally thousands of square miles. And now it's been reduced because of agricultural commercialism to little spots of like 100 acres here, and maybe some acreage within a national park somewhere in the prairie. I don't know if there are many prairie national parks. I doubt it. It's basically been turned into a developing ground for soybeans and corn and more soybeans and more corn. And in there, pigs and livestock and things of that nature too. And so literally the prairie, this restored prairie, and certainly the part of it that's natural prairie, is a representative environment that is far older than the commercialized sector within the central United States. This goes back to the Pliocene era. The prairie is so powerful, a sea of grass it used to be. Not so much anymore. Now, I've driven across that prairie quite a few times now. And it is mostly off of I-80, Interstate 80. It is just soybeans and corn, soybeans and corn, soybeans and corn. And every now and again, you pass through a city, but not at where we're having this seminar. Where we have the seminar, there are natural water sources. There's beaver, there's trout, there are natural birds, native trees, native grasses, native everything. And for those of you that will be lucky enough to come, you walk barefoot across that ground. And you're not walking on Monsanto pesticides or Bayer pesticides if they're going to go through with that merger. You're not walking through herbicides and fungicides and pesticides and any of these death-dealing chemicals that give farmers, greater produce per acre, which basically makes it all about money. When you're walking across that restored prairie, you're walking across that which once was and will be again once people figure out a better way to provide themselves with food. This is a tremendous gift of the Shakti to the people that are attending that seminar. And I just want to thank Rosemary and Joey and Marcy and her husband for providing this level of grace, that we may be able to participate in thousands and thousands of years of accumulated Shakti in a certain area, and to revivify that understanding that wild lands are not just there to be taken advantage of by people that consider themselves stewards of the land. Because that stewardship has been corrupted by greed in the United States. Not completely, though. You look at Marcy and her husband, they're not motivated so much by greed. I know that she worked in the medical industry for many, many years to be able to afford that place. And I don't know what he did, but they are not motivated by greed. They are motivated by a desire to share that passion which is within them. Now, Marcy and her husband, they don't, Marcy is definitely a Kundalini candidate. Definitely a Kundalini candidate. And it is that passion within her that is driving her to put on this seminar. She went to the other seminar that I had the last time I was in Minnesota, which was held in a small room inside of a Best Western hotel. Very different from what we're looking at here in July 9th and 10th. But even so, that passion has ignited within her and has allowed her to really begin to embrace this level of expression, this level of appreciation of the Kundalini within her too. And so if you look at what Marcy and her husband are doing, that is a direct indication of the passion that I'm talking about. The passion that Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez had for that. The passion that Amelia Santara had to put on these seminars. And the passion that I had as well back in 2006 when I just started to put a seminar together in Marin. It was in It was at the Marin Civic Center, and back in 2006, and I had a tremendous response. I think I counted. I counted. I think 2 people that arrived. 2 people, and of those 2 people, both of them already had the Kundalini, so I didn't have to give Shaktipat. They didn't want any more. They needed to learn how to deal with the Kundalini that they already had. And so, anyway, Rosemary, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Marcy, for organizing this event. And once again, it's July 9th, 10th, 2016 in and or around the Twin Cities of Minnesota. It's about an hour west towards the Mayo Institute, or the mayonnaise. What is that? The Mayo?
Mayo.
What is that, Rosemary? Mayo.
It's the Mayo Clinic, and it's south of the city.
Southwest?
No.
Okay.
Might be very slightly, but it's no. But I do have a couple practical things as we get closer. Just want people to know there is an early registration a discount, and that ends May 31st, the last day. And then we have something that we've added this year that helps each other get to the seminar. And we know the value of having people have the same experience as we do. Not exactly, but know what it is, and to share that experience. So there's groups of 3 or more. There's a special price for that, too. So it's really helpful to take advantage of that, and done by intention.
Well, thank you, Rosemary. Thank you very much. Going to go ahead and put you into the blue here, and I'm going to bring Her Holiness on here. She's been getting bounced on and off. Are you there, Amelia? Hello, Amelia.
Yep.
Hey.
I'm here, Chrism.
Good. Okay, all
Hi.
right. I'm going to go ahead and answer that question that somebody's asking, I believe, right? Did you check them out?
I did not.
I want you to hover.
Let me do that.
I want you to hover. I just want you to hover. Okay.
Okay, will do.
Okay. Oh, boy. Here we go. And a caller from the 224 area code. Hello, you're on the air with Chrism.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Esther.
Hi, Esther. Welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thank you so much.
You almost said welcome to Esther, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Oh, you guys are good.
Do you have a question, my dear?
Yeah, I'm trying. I got 2 things going on. In 30 days before or right after 4th of July, I want to move into my new house. But I'm wondering, am I going to get this done? I really am. I'm looking for a new job at a radio station in Chicago. I'm from Illinois, and I want to move at the same time. Do you see this happening for me?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
So that was your question. Well,
yeah, all I want to do is get it. Really, all I want to do is get into my beautiful home. It's been a long time coming. I just want to get in there. So everything will work out, you think, by the 4th?
You get in there and you thank your Shakti when you do, okay?
You know what? Thank you so much. I'm going with that. Thank you. Love you guys. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Put you in the blue here.
Okay.
And yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, so when you look at the passion of the Kundalini, it's a driver. It is a driver, and it will drive you to do the most amazing thing. If you've never been a public speaker, well, all of a sudden you'll be the public speaker from heaven. Okay? If you haven't put on a seminar, well, then you'll put on a seminar for many, many people. It understands our society and how our society is strategically being corrupted away from recognition of the divine self. And this happens in school, this happens in the churches. Everything is really pointing a finger outside of yourself rather than pointing that finger inside yourself. And that passion is really, because it's coming from within you, it's really kind of going against all of these programmings that a person is ensconced in within society, within the Western technological society. I know that if you're a Bushman out of Africa, or some of the pygmies out of Africa, or some of the sages out of the Himalayas, or some of the sages and shamans from the Amazon, all the way up into Siberia, that you guys and gals may have a much greater understanding than people from the technological West. But this program really is for the technological West, for the people that can get on a computer and try to figure out how to log on to Blog Talk Radio, and then there's the whole sound scenario. So this is for you guys. Within the technological West, we are being, in a way, subverted away from our divine self, away from the expression of our divine inner reality. And I want to really begin to suggest to people here, suggest to the people that are listening on the phone, listening on the computer, listening on the chat room, that is a backwards teaching. Kundalini is within you, and she is within you not only to help you recognize the divine within inside of a society that doesn't recognize divinity pretty much at all. Certainly, I know on our money it says, "In God we trust." But really? Is that really true? Isn't it like, in God we trust as long as God conforms to what we consider God to be? Some guy with a beard like Chrism that's sitting around on a cloud, throwing lightning bolts at people that are doing bad things. Now, I know that's kind of a generalized version, but, for a lot of people, that is what God is. And let's not even talk about a feminine version of divinity. Okay, that doesn't even really exist in the technological West. It's more of a guy thing, and that also covers some of the Hindu as well, because women, of course, cannot activate their Kundalini, even though almost, clearly over half of the people that are activating with Kundalini are feminine. But of course, that can't be, because it's a patriarchal world. And within the whole patriarch status, women can't do anything without men giving them the say-so. And so in the technological West, we need to really, really reassess who we are, why we are, what we are, where we are, and how we are. The who, what, why, where, and how. And you really need to reassess that within the passion that your Kundalini is giving you. Because if you're even asking that question, my friends, if you're even asking that question, that can be seen as part of the Kundalini agenda for you. Now, I think I may have interrupted Loranya. I'm not sure if Loranya wanted some airtime. Does she want airtime?
No, just listening.
Oh, okay, thank you, my dear.
Thank
you very much. That was
okay.
You don't want to piss off Shakti, right? Don't want to do that. Anyway, so with that understanding that our society is somewhat backwards, the passion of the Kundalini comes on even stronger. It becomes so strong for the individual that they would do like Trinity did, and they would try to push it away, but it just stays there. It doesn't go anywhere. It stays in a. It's like a racehorse being inside the. I think they call them paddocks. I'm not sure. Inside that little racing cubicle you know, and it's just like you're keeping the racing horse there for months, if not years. Think about that. Now, racehorse, you know, a physical racehorse is not going to do well with that. They will die if you just leave them in that racing paddock. Okay, and so I want you to look at your Kundalini in a very similar format. Some of you have had Kundalini for years and years and years and years, and some of you have just had it for a few months. Okay, if you listen to the people that have had it for years and years and years, they know of this passion that I speak of. They know about this. They know that it drives you to do certain things. It drives you to accept certain levels of spiritual enlightenment, certain levels of spiritual expansion and evolution within yourself. This is very, very important for you to understand, that the passion is the drive. The passion is this visceral, tactile feeling of a need or a want, or a mixture of a need and a want to go out and do. It pushes you to do something about this. And what I'm going to suggest you do about this is you begin to embrace it and accept it and follow the instructions that the passion of the Kundalini will give into you. And let's see here. I'm going to go over here to Amelia again, if she's there. She's currently, yes, she is. There she is. I see you haven't been bumped off yet, Santara.
I was once.
You got to love that. You know, all of a sudden you're on, then you're off.
Yeah.
Tell me
And
about
the thing is, Chris,
go ahead.
I never know if you're gone or I'm gone, you know, so I frantically look to see who's left, me or you.
I swear, this is the first time I've been talking to air in a long time, so it's just like, I got to get back into the air talk. Tell me about how has that passion affected you, Amelia? How has the passion affected you?
Well, it's interesting because I suppose I've had the Kundalini for a few years, and the passion, it's not that the passion has changed, it hasn't, but there seems to be phases in it. You know, I know of that passion at the beginning of my process. I know it as a driver of my practice. I didn't have a practice. And there was a passion. I mean, it's a great word that came and became the driver of my practice. It became, the passion drove me, you know, into service for the Kundalini, in organizing the seminars, as you said, particularly the first one. I mean, that was a passionate obsession. And it was all, you know, from the Kundalini. And yeah, I mean, there's the passion of just being absolutely in love with what is happening, you know, with what is happening, and loving life and loving everything, you know. Yeah, I can't think about anything else really, Chrism. But I mean, I suppose also, I mean, currently at the moment, we think of passion, I suppose, in terms of activity and driving us, and it is. But also, it can be, I don't know if passion is the right word, but say currently at the moment, I'm in a place of deep, it's almost like a cocoon, but there's passion there as well, but it's very quiet and it's very still. And yeah, so that's just an observation on that. It isn't always hugely active or expressive in that way, you know.
No, I hear you, but yeah, for everybody, they're going to have different levels of interaction with that passion, and the passion will change its frequency for sure, especially as you embrace that passion. Once you get past the first hurdle of embracing the passion, well, then the passion knows that it can basically do, you know, whatever it needs to do, not only with you and your process, but with how it wants to express itself in you in regards to manifesting the other phases of that passion within you. So it's not all about putting on a seminar. You know, it's about self-growth. It's about self-evolution. It's about embracing the divine masculine, the divine feminine. It's about looking at nature as the true church, the true spirituality. and embracing that away from say, ego-inflicted desert belief systems.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the passion of nature, Chrism. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something that was. I always loved nature. Even as a child, I did have a passion, but with the Kundalini, it becomes something completely different again, because in nature, the Kundalini is in everything. I mean, you merge with things, you can, I would go to a tree. I would become the tree, one with the tree, the Kundalini.
Didn't you become one of the great white sharks that patrols off of Ireland as well?
All sorts of things. Yeah.
Thank you, my dear.
But it does become your turf.
Oh, it does. It does indeed. And I want to thank you. I'm going to put you in the blue here, and I'm going to go on over here to, I believe this would be Brooke. Hello, Brooke.
Well, hello.
Hello. Hey, now, how has the passion of the Kundalini affected you in your process?
Well, I was thinking about that when you were saying it. I haven't heard this whole conversation, guys. I've been in and out, so I'm trying to catch up.
So have I. Thank you.
Yeah. But honestly, I feel like since, I was about 18 and maybe even earlier, there was a passion in me that was driving me and pushing me towards this. So it wasn't just, 16 years ago or whenever, when I first experienced strange phenomena, that started happening. It was before that, and I bet other people can relate to that. They don't feel. I guess I felt like I didn't fit in to a lot of the society and the culture, and I didn't want to. So there was something pushing me, and there was a passion with that to find out what. If it wasn't that, what was it?
Well, I think with your scenario too, I think the passion of the Kundalini. What happened? Oh, she just got dropped. With her, the passion of the Kundalini, she'll be calling back in, I'm sure. The passion of the Kundalini existed really before she was born. I think some of you have had a marker on you from the Kundalini that you were going to be born into a body that was going to awaken no matter what. You were going to awaken no matter what. And if you look at the patterns of probability that would have extended like the branches of a tree from that singular choice of taking a body and having the Kundalini, with Brooke, it was a very, very, very clear and very, very concise pattern of probability that she was going to do this, and she was going to be assisted in some of the different ways to do this. Let me see if she's back here yet. Aha, here she is. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. And I'm suggesting is that what I was suggesting while you were calling back is that the passion of the Kundalini has been with you since before you took the body, because of the levels of interest and the little secret levels of information that were slowly leaked to your consciousness through childhood and teenage years and all of this, right?
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
So the passion of the Kundalini is also of a karmic nature as well. And there's a certain level of extreme importance to this passion that the Kundalini has for a person to accept it and express it. Have you felt that at all in your life?
Oh, yes. And an extreme urgency almost, like an importance, an extreme. And, I had someone many years ago tell me I took things too seriously, like I took my life too seriously. And although this person she may have been right in some areas, honestly, but I think she was picking up on this one aspect of how important this was for me to understand, and this was before I really even knew the word Kundalini. So, yes, to answer your question, absolutely, I've had that for sure. Because it's all there is. It's all that is.
Well, how has this passion driven you?
Yeah, no.
How has it driven and molded your life?
Well, I have done things that from, a person who is not activated or awakened in Kundalini would not understand. It's not allowed me to fit into the regular normal patterns. And even what I've done in the last couple years, moving out here to work with you, that is it's not made a lot of sense to a lot of people. But that was all part of the passion. That was all part of what happened when I was given instructions and things like that to move and to do that. That was all passion. So yeah, I think that it's just not made a lot of sense, and I guess that's not just this last move, but a lot of my life.
Is your dog chewing on something that's squeaking?
Sorry, I just took it from her.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
But my career and things.
Tell them a little bit about your career. Tell them a little bit about your career and what happened to you. And because I only say this, I'm not trying to get you to self-aggrandize or anything like that. But what I really want to
we wouldn't have that, no.
What I want to isolate here is the passion of the Kundalini driving people to do certain things.
Yeah. Well, for one example that comes to mind is the commercial acting, film, modeling career that I had when I was younger, and it would have been.
How did that come about? What happened with that? How did that develop?
Well, I was approached by an agent at a restaurant, and they said to me, "Come and do this. You'd be great at it." So I went and did that, and I was very successful at it. But I noticed that there was something else pushing me in another direction. So as I kind of did this for a couple years, it just wasn't going to be what I did. And, Elizabeth was talking about this last week with Laranya. I think it was last week. About, that she was just not going to be a rock star, okay? She wasn't going to be a rock star.
She's a rock star with us. I'm going to put Elizabeth on so she can respond to that. Hi, Elizabeth.
So true.
She's a rock star
in
my
eyes.
I know.
You're a rock star to us, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm a rock star in my own mind, right?
I think Laranya considers you a rock star, to be sure. So
but yeah, so
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, there are things that happen in our lifetimes that push us in the other direction so that we can nurture the Kundalini and nurture this job that we have. And it's not all about these other things all the time. So.
Well, can I share a little bit about your journey, Brooke?
Yeah.
Brooke's journey, basically, Brooke was born into a spiritual community that this community was studying the teachings of a man named who?
His pen name was Yoronda, and,
Yoronda.
Yeah, I'll just go with that.
Uronda? Is that how you spell it? Uronda?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And what was he teaching? And why do you think Kundalini would have placed you with him?
Because he taught preparation for Kundalini. He really and truly did. And his message is beautiful to this day. It's about serving, selfless service. It's about being an emissary of the light, bringing that to others. A lot of his stuff was parallel to the safeties.
What was the name of the group at the time, though? What was the name of the group?
Well, that group was
Emissaries. What was it? Emissaries of what?
Divine Light was the name of that.
So,
now, like anything, and I'm just going to say this, at this point, Yoronda is no longer here on this planet. So at this point, I don't really feel resonance with the people who have now carried that through. So I'm just going to say that. And if you look up that, I'm not associated with them, that emissaries of the divine light now.
Right, because the group the group fractured, and one group went off and
fractured, and things, just get the leader. I don't think everything was clear. I mean, they mean well and everything's great, but I don't have a Kundalini resonance with it at this point.
Right.
But
the whole idea, emissaries of the divine light. Well, that is the Kundalini. The Kundalini is that divine light. And this person, Brooke, was born into a closed-off spiritual community that was called Emissaries of Divine Light, and she later on develops Kundalini. I mean, look at that, folks. This is the passion that I'm talking about, and it led her through all kinds of karmic evolution. All the different things that coalesce around a Kundalini activated and awakening individual. And this is what I'm talking about with the passion. And Brooke, I just want to say thank you for allowing some of your journey to be shared. And
you're welcome.
And I'd like you to add, if you wish, any other aspect of the passion of Kundalini evolution that you have experienced directly.
I think I've covered most of the basics without getting too personal.
All right, very good, my dear. I'm going to put you in the blue here.
Okay, thank you.
And this is the passion that I'm talking about. It takes a hold of a person's existence on this world and begins to sculpt the person's desires. It begins to create a person's, what's the word here? I'm looking, it begins to create desires and thoughts within that person that coalesce with the Kundalini, that are supported by the Kundalini, that give that person reach into the Kundalini. Now, sometimes that is not the case. You can be a really, really nasty, bad person, right? Let's just say you're a criminal and you're stealing and hurting and cheating and doing all these different things. And then all of a sudden, some sort of an accident occurs to that person, and wham, their Kundalini comes up, and they are changed from night into day. And they become a very, very, very helpful, very, very kind and considerate person. They give up, by virtue of the Kundalini, their old ways of criminal activity. This is not out of the question for people. This is something that actually does happen. Another thing that can happen is it won't come unless a person has some sort of an accident, which the Kundalini will arrange for you to have. So let's just say, you have a skiing accident. You lose control of your snow skis, and you hit that mogul, and you're airborne right into that pine tree. Oh boy! And you have a comminuted fracture of the lower spine, which boom activates your Kundalini. Well, you had to get up in a very certain time of day in order to get yourself ready to hit the slopes, to take that chairlift up, to get off of that chairlift, and to head down the right or the left side of that chairlift, if you have a right and left side of it, and to actively pursue that one specific mogul that makes you airborne and lands you basically into the ER because you have that lower fractured spinal cord now. That is also controlled by the Kundalini. It's not an accidental activation, even though from our Western perspective, that, what a terrible accident that person had. They broke their back. Not from a Kundalini standpoint, especially, when it accompanies an activation of the Kundalini in the lower spine. So it's very, very important to realize that too is a level of the passion that the Kundalini has to express itself within a karmic format for any kind of an individual, whether they're a criminal, whether they're, a sporting star, whatever it is. When the Kundalini has the passion for you to have itself within you, you will have it, but you will have it along the lines that your karma begins to dictate. So now if you have any questions about that, I want you to, I always forget to give in this number, but I'm going to give you the guest call-in number. And so anybody that's listening on their computer or even on the chat room here, you can give us a call at the area code 347-934-0026. That's 347-934-0026, and Amelia will pick up your call. She will find out if you're some sort of a spammer or a scammer, and then if you don't qualify for either of those, she'll put you on the show. So the number once again is 347-934-0026, and I will go ahead and continue along these lines. The passion can drive you to do things that are not socially acceptable as well. If you don't have strong Kundalini guidance, you can get into trouble with this. As I have explained in other programs, the Kundalini will definitely accompany, the activation of Kundalini will bring with it a severe increase in a person's libido. And if they don't know that they have the Kundalini, they can just kind of let their own expressions of a desire level of the libido take them over. So they may get interested in the pornography, or they may get interested in some sort of a design that really isn't healthy for them. And if that begins to occur, then the Kundalini will direct them to a physical flesh-based teacher that they can talk with and begin to get their path, in less of a libido-based corruptive manner. It's hard at the beginning. It's difficult to discern what is occurring. And so what I tell people is that if you have like 3 or 4 different levels of phenomena that's happening to you, and if those are Kundalini-based phenomena, then I would look at that as a Kundalini activation. If you're only having one, I would look at it, but I wouldn't be as prone to categorize it as Kundalini unless I see other levels of phenomena or other levels of thinking or thoughts that are put into the person's mind by the inner divine. And so, when you're first activated, it can be hard to delineate between Shakti and an entity coming into you, which is, of course, why the entities will begin to swarm an activated individual and try to begin to corrupt their process, which is their job. I'm not suggesting that people are, go into hatred or anything like that with the entities. That is their job, and what you see as their job is a test for you to stay non-corrupted, to stay moral, to stay ethical, to stay along the lines of what the Kundalini and its high ethics and high morality want you to express. And typically pornography does not have those high levels of ethic or morality. It's not because the male or female figure is dirty or not beautiful or not an expression of God, which it is, but some of the things that people will force the body to do can be seen as destructive or hurtful to the body, certainly within the ideas of ethics and morality on how we treat people in general. One of the things is that whole idea of the patriarchal systems that we have in place. That is a corruptive system. And so the Kundalini will begin to correct that within a person's thinking, realizing that 50% of Kundalini and exaltation is female, and 50% of Kundalini and exaltation is male. And this is what we refer to as sacred male and sacred feminine. And I know a lot of you already know this, but for those that are new to this, I want to cover that as well. The passion of the Kundalini will also drive a person into very severe levels of introspection, of rediscovering why you think the way you think, why you feel the way you feel. And once again, if you're following the safety protocols, you really want to follow them closely up to the point where you forgive yourself for activities that you may have engaged in that were counter to the Kundalini before. You've got to forgive yourself for that. It's not all about forgiving outside of you. It's also 50% about forgiving you yourself. And I know that some of you have a real big problem with that, self-forgiveness. You know, you want to hang on to the guilt. You want to hang on to that inner pain because it has been driving you towards self-correction, I'm sure, in many ways. But at the point of Kundalini, you need to forgive yourself, too. Because it's what is inside that is reflected outside, and that is more of the direct reflection than outside to in. Okay, I mean, the ancient code is that which is within is reflected outside, that which is outside is reflected inside, as above, so below, as within, so without. But because we spend so much of our lives looking outside, a great level of imbalance occurs when we just look at one vector of Kundalini expression. And so she will come by and she will begin to vector you within and to create the balance so that you're appreciating that which is within just as much as you appreciate that which is outside of yourself. So if you're following the safeties, you forgive yourself and you forgive those that are outside of you, that you may have caused harm, or they may have caused harm for you. And the other thing is, people are going to say, "Oh, we are all one. We are all one, and so therefore I am you, you are me, we are we." And it's true to some degree. We are all one. We are one. We are one with the dirt. We are one with sand. We are one with stardust. We are one with the light. We are one with the darkness. We are at one with everything, not just with humanity. Humanity is just one small component of we are at one with. Okay. But the scenario is we're here on this planet in individualized form to learn very specific lessons. Some of those lessons are about karma, about self-correction through the lives lived from a karmic perspective. But it's also about how we engage the future of our species and the evolution of our species. And that is with the evolution of Kundalini. Having one foot in heaven and one foot on this world is what I'm talking about. And that may make you feel very, very, very uncoordinated at first. When you're in the transition stage, you don't really know up from down. When one foot is being lifted into the air and up and over into another dimension, whereas the other foot is staying on your old familiar dimension, it feels like you're ice skating blindly. And so, when you're inside of that transformation, as some of you are, I'm going to suggest to you just to surrender completely to the Kundalini. Don't go into fear because you can't see what your divine foot is skating on. Don't go into fear because it doesn't feel like the same terra firma that you once had when you were walking with both feet on the physical earth. Now that you've got one foot into heaven and one foot into the world, begin to form that Vesika Pisces and begin to live in the world that is comprised of the two that have become one, and the one that used to be two. Is this as clear as mud? Can I hear it from the chat room? Is this as clear as mud, or are you actually understanding what my limited verbal skills is trying to convey? And I see nobody is typing, so it looks like it's a muddy day. Or I've been talking to the air this whole time. Oh my God. Is anybody? I see C.L. Morgan is typing, so maybe he heard this. Got it! And Mary Jean says it's okay. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, both of you. Okay, all right. So it's somewhat clear then. With regards to that passion. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lana Seeker and Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez. Thank you very much. They are hearing this, so I'm not talking specifically to the air. So with regards to this passion then, embrace it. Embrace the changes that are coming to you. Most of the changes will be strange because many of these changes are not something that you would ever do to yourself. Okay. Embrace those changes and allow those changes to occur, because if you don't, really what's going to happen is just she's going to keep compelling you to change those areas. And I'm being compelled to come over here right now to Her Holiness. Hello, Amelia Santara.
Hi again.
This show has gone so fast. I'm being
Hello?
compelled to ask you if you have any questions
Chrism?
that you may have collected. Hello, I'm here.
Can
Hello.
you hear me?
Yes, hello. Hello. There she goes. Blog Talk just dropped her, so I'll have to wait for her to call back. All right, so continuing onward, I guess once she calls back, we'll go with anybody's questions that are coming up. The passion will take hold of you, though. It will take hold of you first. It will pin you to the floor, literally. You will feel like you are being pinned to the floor, pinned to the bed, pinned to the couch, pinned to the chair, pinned to your car seat. And you will not be allowed to move. And you will be given very, very specific instruction. Oh, my gosh! I feel like I'm being called to Ireland. There we are. Okay. Do we have any questions before you get bumped off? Let's see if we can get one of those questions out.
Yeah, here comes a question. Am I activated when my spine during meditation starts getting up straight and I feel energy in all my chakras?
Well, I have a little bit of an issue with that. The person says, feeling energy in all my chakras. Really? At the same time, one at a time? Does that include the crown chakra? Is you're feeling energy in the crown chakra? To some degree, I will agree with that. To some other degree, I will say this person's not telling it the way it is. Okay. If you're feeling energy in all your chakras, I need to know if that's one at a time or at the same time. And if you're feeling energy in all your chakras, then you should be spinal sweeping. And I would say, yes, that would definitely be an awakening, skipping the activation. So that's, I'm looking for a little more clarity from that questioner. And Amelia, I just put you in the red, just so you know.
Okay.
I would say for this person, they need to come clean a little bit more about what they're feeling and because I'm not seeing that they're feeling that all at the same time. I'm getting that they're feeling some energy in different chakras at different time, but I don't see that they're feeling it in all the chakras at the same time. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Again, is it possible to know by intuition or, you love this, aura reading, if a person is Kundalini activated or awakened?
It reminds me of the lady that just called up to ask me if she was going to move to that house. It's possible. It is possible if you're able to accurately, and I, in quotation marks, accurately, see energy and allow that energy to express itself to you in a very specific way that would allow you to make a determination of Kundalini activation or awakening, sure. That's not so common. Okay. People are expanding inside of the New Age movement, and they all want to be seers, and they all want to activate that third eye, and they're very, very much interested in that, and so they will compel themselves to feel like they've activated their third eye when in fact they haven't, and entities may tie into that person that wants to be so much that they're willing to fool themselves. And they will actually assist the person in fooling themselves into thinking that they're seeing something that they may not be seeing. Okay. I'm not really much of a proponent for aura readings or for past life readings or for any kind of a reading that is subject to a person's ego disposition with regards to what powers they may have or may not have. I don't have any power. Chrism has absolutely no power. The only thing that has power in my equation is the Kundalini in Chrism. So it's really, you don't get to have the power. The Kundalini has all the power. Matter of fact, it takes all your power and consumes it and distributes it the way it sees is necessary within your Kundalini awakening evolution. Now, this person is saying, oh, with aura reading, well, you know, that all of a sudden I start seeing visions of cotton candy and sugar plum fairies floating across my visual screen because, you know, I kind of get a feeling that, oh, you know, the person who is reading this doesn't have the Kundalini. So how could a person reading an aura that does not have Kundalini themselves recognize Kundalini? So I won't say it's impossible, but I also won't give it a probable factor either. Hi, Aloha Jay. I see you. Welcome. So next question, please.
Next question. Is it normal for an active Kundalini charge to cause more frequent visits to the bathroom, particularly for us men? Was the question.
Yeah, the Kundalini will make changes in the prostate. Boy, this opens up a whole chapter. With the genitals of either sex, a backflow door is operated by the Kundalini. So because I'm a man, I'll speak from a male perspective. From the testicle to the prostate, the energies and the fluidic energies will travel up the vas deferens and in the various other organs where 7 fluids are connected or collected naturally within the human system that creates what we understand to be sperm. So 7 fluids equals the reproductive fluid that we know of as sperm. Within the Kundalini context, that sperm can be back drawn into the spine. Now, I know that some of the Taoist teachers, they say, oh, you never ejaculate, you always want to keep that sperm alive and well within the system so that it can serve you energetically. Well, this is what they're talking about. Now, I don't necessarily agree with any of their techniques to do this, like the red deer exercise, the red male deer exercises, or the cool draw, or multi-orgasmic functionings within men or women. I'm not really drawn into those areas. The Kundalini takes me into what it does with those energies, and it will pull. I've had this happen, and many other people have had this happen. It will pull sacred fluidics, energetic fluidics, from one part of the body into another part of the body. So it will pull the sperm or the reproductive fluids of the feminine into the spine itself, and it will mix in with the spinal fluid, and that spinal fluid, reproductive fluid mixture creates a very, very, very powerful energetic of a spiritual nature that will be spread first onto the endocrine system, and from the endocrine system into the nervous system and all of these other systems that the body comprises. Ask the question again, would you? Because I've been closing my eyes and streaming.
Yes. Is it normal for an active Kundalini charge to cause more frequent visits to the bathroom, particularly for men?
That's right. And so as the prostate is expanded within the male, that expansion will create pressure upon the urethra, and that urethra will begin to spasm a little bit. And so the person will have to go to the bathroom. It's very similar to having prostate cancer. But this isn't prostate cancer. Okay? I have so been through this, let me tell you. I've had the finger wave, the whole bit, and only guys know what finger waves are from a literal standpoint. So, and so yes, it is normal within the Kundalini to have pressure, the pressure of the prostatic flesh that totally surrounds the urethra, to pressurize that urethra and only allow certain levels of urine flow to come through. Okay, and so, so yes, that would be normal within a Kundalini context. That would be normal. Yes. Over.
Okay, and I actually answered it on the group as well from the point of view of a woman cooking, because my experience was, yes, I had an increase in frequency, and with it came, it was like a pleasurable tactile flow. It was actually blissful to pass the urine. I don't know if it was that, but it was. It was, and that lasted during
That's what my nieces would say to me. I mean, I wouldn't have even got that far before they start screaming TMI at me. Just so you all know, Amelia got bumped off again right in the middle of her laughter. So, yeah. With that, I'm going to go ahead and continue along the lines of that question. There's something called fluidic. Oh, what's it called? Genital. I didn't do that. But hang on, I'm expanding a little bit because I didn't know how long it would take you to get back. So I'm describing GFA. Okay. GFA is that sensation. Genital fluidic ascension is what that experience feels like, whether it's with the feminine or with the masculine. When those fluidics are pumped back pumped into the spinal column or into the spinal cord and introduced, mixed with Kundalini into the Chitrini channel, which is it's a spinal cord within a spinal cord. The Chitrini channel within the central spinal cord is where the Kundalini channel's up. And when those fluidics are mixed in with that Chitrini channel into the Kundalini itself, that is what creates that spiritual plasmic force that begins the transformation of a person's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and psychological body systems. Over.
Okay, and can I add more?
Yeah.
Or is there enough information?
Go ahead.
I wanted to add, or to ask you maybe about the sphincter muscles. There can be quite a lot of tactile movement there too, can't there?
That's true.
In relation
with the sphincter muscle, those are ring muscles, RING muscles. The sphincter, the eye, the nostril, the mouth, the ear, the rectum, which is the sphincter, and their urethra. These are all ring muscles, and they're called ring muscles because they contract like the lens of a camera. So you see the shutter come in, and it just kind of spirals its way closed, and it spirals its way open. These are what the ring muscles do. And when I was early on in my Kundalini equation, the passion of the Kundalini would have me squeeze my sphincter quickly and with my eyes in the up position and my fingers locked and my chin slightly downward. If I squeezed the sphincter, it would send a pulse of energy up the spine and out the top of the seventh chakra without activating the seventh chakra. I was guided to do this over and over and over and over again until it became quite naturally. Then I didn't even have to squeeze it that much. I could just kind of envision it with my mind, and the energy would go up and out the crown chakra. And this eventually really helped me to have a spinal sweep, because the passion of the Kundalini kept teaching me to do this over and over and over. And then certain methodologies and patterns of chakra breathing were also introduced. And that, boy, once that happened, that spinal sweep came on like a freight train. So, the sphincter is very powerful in that, and so, especially because it's located right there at the first chakra. And you can add anything to that you want, Amelia, in your experience.
Well, just that that was connected in when the frequency started for me during that phase. The sphincter muscles was like creels. I had no control over that.
That's
they
an interesting
did it
visual.
themselves, you know. But yeah, so I think it's worth mentioning though, because one or two other people have referred to that before, and it's so weird that people are embarrassed to talk about it, Chrism. So I think it's important to mention it.
Thank you. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. I tell you what. When you have the Kundalini activated or awakened, when you go to the toilet, oh my God, it becomes a spiritual experience.
That's what I said, and you laughed.
It does. Aloha Jay writes on the chat room. He says, "I am practicing Koala Tantra presently, and I'm just guessing that doesn't have anything to do with the koala bear, although I hesitate to ask." Well, congratulations to you, Aloha Jay, and enjoy the Koala Tantra, and just make sure that you have plenty of what's the name of the tree that the koalas like to eat?
Eucalyptus.
Eucalyptus leaves. Have some. I don't mean to be disrespectful. Aloha Jay. You go ahead. You practice that Koala Tantra, and hopefully that will bring you to a Kundalini awakening. That would be wonderful. Wonderful for the world. Wonderful for Jay. All right. Next question.
Next question. Why do negative or bad thoughts arise in the mind, although one does practice ahimsa?
Because those areas are the programs that need to be released from our psychology when we have the Kundalini. So she will present those options. When you're practicing ahimsa, which means do no harm, do not kill, the other half of that coin is going to also, show itself. And as it shows itself, it will allow you to see the difference between, being the aggressive, murderous carnivore to being the maybe non-aggressive, more of a Kundalini type of an eater. Not to say that carnivores are not part of the Kundalini program; they certainly are. But it will give you the understanding of the difference that you're doing, and the difference in the way that you're living your life. But it also brings that stuff up for purification, so that you continue to live your life from an ahimsa standard. But without judging, perhaps, the carnivores for just doing what they do naturally. And from a carnivore standpoint, killing is not a bad thing. It is not destructive. It is absolutely in line with God's and the divine path upon this world. And ahimsa is practiced by carnivores as well. Believe it or not. They only eat what they need. They don't eat because they just want to kill everything like people do. I mentioned Monsanto earlier. They just want to kill everything. Okay. With ahimsa, carnivores practice ahimsa. They basically weed out the weak and they keep the herd strong. Not the way not the way humans would want it to be, because we're so soft and fluffy, and we're often coming from kind of a misinformed understanding of what is natural and what isn't. But the carnivores are also practicing ahimsa by virtue of what they hunt and why they hunt what they hunt. The hunt will always need to eat, and this is a standard. Okay, the hunt will need to eat, and if we're part of that hunt, then we need to honor that which we are doing, which we are eating, and we just honor it in a way that is pro Kundalini, thanking that animal for the energy that it is providing us, for the life that it is providing us. It's life saving us in many, many different ways. So just an FYI about that. Over.
Thank you. Thank you, Chrism. I have a question here that I'd like to read the whole lot rather than edit it, please.
Okay, all right.
There's a few things in it, so I'll just begin. It seems that most people today who get Kundalini do not call it Kundalini, but Ascension. I got to know this guy online who claims to be an Ascension, and he has a lot of the Kundalini symptoms. He told me his view of this process, and he says there is a difference between new and old Kundalini after 2012. People with old Kundalini often get mental problems because their bodies aren't prepared for this strong energy, while people with new Kundalini have gotten their bodies prepared from guides and angels and are connected with their guides through a string that goes from the crown chakra up, meaning that the guides can control the amount of energy received and not overloading your system. He also says that Kundalini is not God, but only a motor drifting evolution, and one should not talk to the Kundalini, but only to the three angels.
Stop.
Do you want me to stop?
I can't.
I'm nearly there.
Oh my God. Okay. Finish it up.
Okay, let me finish this. He doesn't seem alone on viewing in this way. And I'm wondering, might this be the reason why some people suffer with symptoms for so many years, that they are misinformed? And is there a difference between old and new Kundalini? Thank you for listening, Chrism.
No. Across the board. This Ascension guy is just being controlled by entities that he is calling angels and guides, and what they are calling themselves. Oh, hello, activating guy. I'm an angel. Really, I'm an angel. And I am the one that is going to be controlling the amount of power coming through you. I am the one that is going to be pulling your string from the crown chakra on down, deciding how much energy you're going to have. This is such a crock of shit. Excuse my French, or Russian, whatever. This is so misinformative. Okay, I really, these are the people that are causing a lot of pain. Ascension symptoms are basically Kundalini symptoms. There is no new or old Kundalini. This is so ridiculous. 2012, they just wanted to make 2012 something that they couldn't make it before it occurred. They wanted 2012 to be this tremendous destruction of the earth, and oh God, we just have to get right with our Savior now, and shoot, it didn't happen. Well, it's part of the Ascension format. That's what it is. Yes, and what we want to do is we want to search out our angels and guides because they have our best interests at heart. And, this is what we'll call Kundalini. And then there's this is the first I've heard of the new and old Kundalini. That's a new one. That is about as far off the mark as a person can get. There is no such thing as new or old Kundalini. And these people that are having ascension symptoms, what they're basically calling Kundalini symptoms now, they're just trying to create a reality that fits their egocentrism. That's what's occurring. Their ego wants to believe so hard in the new age and in the controllability of Kundalini that they're going to manufacture systems that have no representation in truth whatsoever, They're going to manufacture these symptoms so that they can assume some sort of a control mechanism over a divine expression. It is so wrong. It is. I mean, I cannot. This is what's causing a lot of the confusion about Kundalini in our world right now, and this man is totally possessed by entities, if that is what he is saying, and it is unfortunate. It's as unfortunate as channelers and people who feel they can read your aura and tell you everything that you need to know about yourself by reading your aura, whether or not they can do that. This is another mechanism of egocentrism being inserted into New Age information. It's just the ego not wanting to be abandoned or retrained. And this egocentrism basically is being guided through discarnate entity possession to assume control over the activation of a person's Kundalini, to totally defile any divine aspect of the Kundalini, to not talk to the Kundalini. It's just a motor of evolution is all those entities want you to know. And it's the entities themselves that want to be seen as angels and guides in order to just basically live as a parasite, a continuous parasite, off of you as you give them the adulation, as you give them the worship that you should indeed be giving to God's grace within you. And I'm just going to stop there because it just...
Well, thank you, Chrism. I think these questions are, when you answer these questions, it's very valuable because there is a lot of stuff like that out in the internet. And when people are in pain and they're having a lot of, difficulty and they come across something like that, they get connected into it. And I think it just needs people. I think you answering that question is very informative.
They get sucked dry by those entities. Those entities, and it's just about, it's about egocentrism. This person doesn't want to give control over to anything but their perception of a guide or an angel, which they can't really tell. They're not really being able to see the truth of that. And, they're just contradicting the truth to such a large degree that it's spreading a level of lie and hurtfulness into the community of people that are actually having the Kundalini. It's just really, God, this is what I said on the Facebook groups the other day. I said, truth knows truth. Okay, truth is truth, and the Kundalini knows truth. And I think a lot of people that fall into that ascension syndrome category, they don't know the truth, but they feel it. And I think those who feel the actual truth of the Kundalini will not listen to a man who says the things that he's saying. These people are not doing ego work at all. They are consuming ego and living off of ego and desires rather than understanding the truth of what is actually occurring to them. They're basically listening to their egos and worshiping their egos and allowing the entities to inflate their ego in order to provide more sustenance and nourishment that the entities will use on a person. And this invites everything from incubus to succubus to hungry ghosts, to all of these different entities will just flock to a person like this ascension guy just to feed off the people that he confuses. And those people will have to go through that torment, before they can really get a handle on it, if they ever do in this life. If they ever do.
Okay. Thank you, Chrism, for answering. You've got a person has come into the studio there. Do you want me to check it? I'll ask you a question and I'll go say hello to them.
Oh, I think that's
Kundalini...
Josephine. That might be Josephine. But go ahead and check. Go ahead and check her out.
I'm going to ask a question. Does Kundalini arise due to concentration during meditation?
No. No, it doesn't. It does not arise that way. I mean, typically it doesn't arise that way. Now, if you've been meditating for years and years and years, like Gopi Krishna, Gopi Krishna is an Indian man who had his Kundalini awaken in 1934, and he wrote some books about it, which was very cool, which was very helpful to a lot of people. He had been meditating, I think, for over 23 years or even longer. And on Christmas morning, his Kundalini awakened when he started meditating and brought his eyes up. He was able to see through his crown chakra. It was a very beautiful thing. But so it did awaken in him through meditation. But meditation is something that you do over and over and over again, not just a one-time. Okay, I'm in meditation now. Let's see my Kundalini wake up. And you may have some more karma to go through too. You don't want to just choose a specific practice, and then because that practice is associated with the awakening of the Kundalini, to assume that that's all you need to do. There's a lot more to it. There is a lot more to it. And so I would say no, absolutely not. Depending on just that feeling of focus that you get from meditation will not activate your Kundalini unless you do it for a certain amount of time, or she's compelling you with her passion to do it over and over and over. That may be the vector that it will express through, but it's not a guarantee at all. Over.
Okay, Chrism. Thank you. And that is Josephine driving home after work. So.
And I just want everybody to know, that the only reason I'm able to do this blog talk show right now with the equipment I have is through the grace and latitude and love that Josephine Smith has for her Kundalini and for the Kundalini information coming out there. So love, love, love. Much love to you, Josephine. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Go ahead. Next question.
Well, the next question, actually, Chrism, isn't a question. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read Cole's GMOs. And he made, and I just briefly want to ask you about that because you mentioned Monsanto earlier. He's talking about the fact that salmon are now GMO. They're going to be for sale in Canada and they're not going to be labeled. And he's trusting in his Kundalini that GMOs are to be stayed away from. But could you talk about that in terms of Kundalini, the GMO question?
Yeah, genetically modified organisms is what GMO stands for. And that's really unfortunate news to hear, although I have been following it a bit, and I know that they were considering doing it. Once again, this is commercialism corrupting the natural wildlife. This is commercialism. This is GMO salmon that have been genetically modified by the ego of science in order to perform a certain function. And what those GMO salmon are going to do is they're going to deplete the wild stock from their niche in the environment. And so science, raising its ignoramus head, and looking at profit over the appreciation of the natural world, genetically modifying a food source in order to make more money. And this more money is going to do to the salmon stock what commercial farming did to the prairie. Okay? That's what's going to happen. And Mr. Morgan and I think Mr. Morgan lives up there, or at least in and around those areas. Maybe not, but I'll go ahead and read
typing, I have one more. Oh.
Hang on, let me see what he typed here. Looks like, he said thanks. You're welcome.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I have another question then. Can Kundalini give you a face rash? And why, if the answer is yes?
Well, I'll let you answer that question, my dear.
Oh, it can. Well, I'll answer the first half, okay? I'll say, yes, Kundalini certainly can give you a face rash. This happened to me. It happened to me actually last year when I was at the seminar up in Washington. It began not long after I got off the plane, and it was a very nasty face rash, and it was given by the Kundalini. There was a lot of reasons why, when I look back on it, there was a lot of things. It was about clearing, cleansing, detoxifying. It was about a lot of things, and it was very much about my ego as well. And the reason was because not only did I have a nasty face rash, but my face swelled up. And it was very, very difficult for me in my ego consciousness to meet new people with this face, because I wanted to say, this isn't me, and it was fascinating for me because I would have thought my looks were not important. Not at all. I'm really cool. It doesn't matter. It mattered. So it was a big, for me, the face rash, in any case, I'm not saying it's that way for everybody because it was so severe. It was a huge teaching for my ego around stuff, Do you want to say more about that, Chrism?
Well, it does. It's a real strong test, but it's also a detox. It's also a purification. And the fact that it chooses to come out, it'll come out through the face. It'll come out on the back, on the torso of an individual, the armpits, under the breasts, inside the inner thighs, backs of the knees. Anywhere that's moist and warm, the Kundalini will definitely bring a detoxification to that. To the palms of your hands. I go through that myself periodically. And it is a detox. It is natural, and it does have a really, really good effect on the ego. I remember I was writing with Amelia. That was right after the Kundalini at the castle, and she handled. I thought she handled herself with aplomb, and with she didn't go into too many ego spasms over it. But I know that it was very difficult for her to just see this creeping crud, begin to develop on her face, and I, the same thing happened to me when it developed on my palms too. And so it's just a level of detox. You got to remember, we're in the society, and society puts out a lot of pollutions all the time. So we're constantly breathing in, constantly intaking it, and constantly having to detox through it. And so I just want to say that we're running out of time here. We got about a minute left. Say good night, Amelia.
Good night, Amelia.
Good night, Amelia. And I want
good night, everybody.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Sorry, Josephine, that it was such a short show for you, but I suggest everybody go into the archives. You can get more information about this on Facebook, Kundalini Awakening ! On the Yahoo network, Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo Groups. On YouTube at Chrism.Kundalini. On YouTube, you can get about 300 videos there. And I want to thank Yasin, C.L. Morgan, Phil Kruba, Lori Kawano, and Elizabeth Bartolomej, and Atlanta Seeker. I'd like to thank everybody, including the guests in the chat room. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us, and we will be here at the same Kundalini channel, at the same Kundalini group, at the same Kundalini time. And I just want to thank everybody who is listening in the future, in the archives. And I will end this the way I started it. I think the way I started it. It's kind of hard to tell on this episode. But here we go.
Heute ein Tinder-Date gehabt und sie sah aus wie auf dem Foto. Das muss gefeiert werden. Crunchit. Wo Crunchips ist Party.